Hello everyone. Welcome to eLearning Hub. Signing on to give you another insight. For today's topic is all about the communication model, the Aristotle's model of communication. What is a model? A model is a widely used to portray any idea, thought, or concept in a more simpler way through diagrams, pictorial representations, etc. Model goes a long way in making the understanding of any concept easy and clear. Through a model, one can easily understand the process and draw conclusions from it. In simpler words, a model makes the learning simple. Let us now learn the Aristotle's communication model. Aristotle is a great philosopher, initiated the earliest mass communication model called Aristotle's Model of Communication. He proposed the model before 300 BC, who found the importance of audience role in communication chain in his communication model. This model is more focused on public speaking than interpersonal communication. The Aristotle's model of communication is divided into 5 elements. The speaker is the most important element, making this model a speaker-oriented model. It is the speaker's task to give a speech to the public. His speech must be designed accordingly to the occasion and to the audience. The role of the audience is passive, which makes the Aristotle's model of communication a one-way model, from the speaker to the audience, or we call this also as linear model of communication. There is no required feedback. However, the effect of the speech to the audience is highly important. Let us first go through a simple situation. In a political meeting, the prospective leader delivers a persuasive speech to the audience, urging for more votes from the constituency. He tries to convince the crowd in the best possible way he can, so that he emerges as a winner. What is he actually doing? He is delivering his speech in a manner that the listeners would get convinced and cast their votes only in his favor. Or, in other words, respond in the same manner the speaker wanted to. Here, the leader or the speaker is the center of attraction, and the crowd simply the passive listeners. The example actually explains the Aristotle's model of communication. The speaker is the politician. He delivers a speech accordingly to his audience and to the occasion. The occasion is the election campaign. The effect is the result of the election. If he will be declared as winner in the election, his speech has a really great impact to the audience. According to this model, the speaker plays a key role in communication. He is the one who takes complete charge of the communication. The speaker prepares a content, which he does by carefully putting his thoughts in words with an objective of influencing the listeners or the audience, who would then respond in the speaker's desired way. No points in guessing that the content has to be very, very impressive in this model for the audience to get convinced. The model says that the speaker communicates in such a way that the listeners or the audience get influenced and respond accordingly. The speaker must be very careful about his selection of words and content in this model of communication. He should understand his target audience, and then prepare his speech. Making eye contact with the second party is again a must to create an impact among the listeners or the audience. Stammering, getting nervous in between of a conversation must be avoided. Voice modulations also play a very important role in creating the desired effect. The speaker must avoid blank expressions, confused looks, and similar pitch all through the speech. Make it monotonous and nullify its effect. The speaker should know where to lay more stress on, highlight which word to influence the listeners. The Aristotle's model of communication is the widely accepted and the most common model of communication where the speaker sends the information or a message to the audience to influence them and make them respond and act accordingly. Aristotle's model of communication is the golden rule to excel in public speaking, seminars, lectures, where the speaker makes his point clear by designing an impressive content, passing on the message to the second part, and they simply respond accordingly. Here, the speaker is the active member and the audience is the passive one. Let us put this to rhetorical triangle in order to understand further the Aristotle's model of communication, since the very purpose of this model is persuasion. The rhetorical triangle is essentially a method to organize and distinguish the three elements of rhetoric. The rhetorical triangle consists of three convincing strategies to be used in direct communication situations. Aristotle did not use the triangle himself in the Aristotle's model of communication, but effectively described the three modes of persuasion, namely ethos, pathos, and logos. These modes of persuasion always influence each other during conversation, in which arguments are shared back and forth, but also in one-way communication, such as during speeches. Ethos. It is about the speaker's credibility and degree of authority, especially with the subject at hand. In other words, credibility or ethos refers to an audience perception that the speaker is well prepared and qualified to speak on a topic. Peterson, Stephen, and White, 1992, explained that there are two kinds of credibility: the reputation that precedes you before you give your speech, known as antecedent credibility, and the credibility you develop during the course of your speech, known as consequent credibility. In many cases, the audience has no prior knowledge of the speaker, so they make judgment about the quality of the evidence and argument in the speech. In addition, they look and listen to the speaker to determine if she or he is a reliable source of information. Audience members have no motivation to listen to a speaker they perceive as lacking authority or credibility, except maybe to mock the speaker. To avoid this pitfall, there are at least three ways to boost your credibility as a speaker: by establishing your expertise, helping your audience identify with you, and showing you are telling the truth. Establish expertise by citing reputable sources, making sure your facts are accurate, covering your points in enough detail to demonstrate your knowledge, and revealing your personal expertise with the topics. Help the audience identify with you by wearing appropriate and attractive clothing, mentioning what you have in common, being friendly and enthusiastic, relating to listener situations, feelings, and motives. Show you are telling the truth by presenting both sides of an issue, sharing what motivated you to select your topic, having open, natural nonverbals that correspond to what you say, approaching the speech with ethics and positive intentions for your audience. Pathos denotes emotion, but in the rhetoric, pathos refers to the audience and how they react to the speaker's message, the center in the Aristotle's model of communication. The idea behind pathos is that the audience must feel that they are communicated with. In certain situations, they want to feel more confident. In others, more sad, angry, or emotional. Tips for effective addressing emotions. People's involvement is stimulated by humor. Always keep different types of humor in mind. Use images or other visual materials to evoke strong emotions. Pay attention to the intonation and tempo of one's voice to elicit enthusiasm or anxiety. Logos, which means logic. However, in rhetoric, it broadly refers to the speaker's message and more specifically, the facts, statements, and other elements that comprise the argument. According to the Aristotle's model of communication, logos is the most important part of one's argument. For this reason, it is crucial that the sales talk always emphasize this particular element. The appeal to logic also means that paragraphs and arguments must be properly ordered. Facts, statistics, and logical reasoning are especially important here. When analyzing logos, always ask yourself, what is the context? What conditions are relevant? What are the potential counter-arguments? Is there any evidence that supports my arguments? Always mention this. Do I correctly avoid generalizations? And am I being specific enough? When you take into consideration the three corners of the rhetorical triangle, you are better able to position your points in a way that your audience or listeners can understand and get on board with you. By taking time to understand the part of rhetoric, you will give your communications more credibility, power, and impact. There are few criticisms around this model. There is no concept of feedback. It is one way from the speaker to the audience. There is no concept of communication failure like noise and barriers. This model can only be used in public speaking. That is the communication model. Thank you for watching. I will end this by leaving you the message of Alexander Gregg. There are three things to aim in public speaking. First, to get into your subject. Then, to get your subject into yourself. And lastly, to get your subject into the heart of your audience. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And click also the notification bell so that you will be notified for the next video.